So we'll look at the first part of Macbeth's final soliloquy together. In this he says, "Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle." A couple things we'll notice here. First of all, of course, are the many connections to time that the speaker Macbeth here makes. He speaks to, first, all of the tomorrows. The idea here in this petty pace is this sense of monotony, this endless repetition of life that moves from day to day all the way to the last syllable. And this last syllable of recorded time is a sense of impending doom. It's a sense of the end of the world, the apocalypse, the last time that there will be time. Looking forward, then, all Macbeth sees is this monotonous journey forward to extinction. There's nothing coming but extinction. There's nothing coming but just ultimate ending. And so that's not a very pleasant future to look forward to. And he looks back and he says, the only purpose of our yesterdays was to light fools the way to dusty death. So a couple of plays on words here. First of all, with fools, thinking of fool in the first place is an insult. It's a pejorative. We would speak of this as a synonym for this, of course, would be a moron or an idiot, which Macbeth will address in a moment. A second definition for a fool would be a jester or a clown, someone who is hired for entertainment and whose sole purpose is entertainment, which would be important for us in a moment. So we see a connection then as well, this idea of having lighted fools to what he will describe in a second, to this brief candle. And the candle here as a metaphor for life suggests a couple things. It suggests brevity, it suggests dullness or an inefficiency. You think about the briefness of a candle, how easy it is to it out. You just blow it out. It's clapped out very easily. You think as well of the little light that it gives. There's not a lot of light. And so the idea here is that everybody, all of our yesterdays, have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Dusty here does two things as well. It gives us the sense in the first place of a dusty road, the sort of unmade road of Elizabethan times. In this, we could think of all of our lives as being sort of signposts leading people ultimately to this idea of death. But the second idea of this is of dust as symbolic of mortality. If you take all of life's accomplishments, all of its worries, all of its ambitions, and add 100 years to it, what you will have is dust. T.S. Eliot is a great poet of the 20th century, said, "I will show you fear in a handful of dust." And the idea for him is that this is what life is. It's ultimate decomposition. It's a place of finally having everything that you have achieved be reduced to ash. And of course, if you had a handful of dust, the way that you would get rid of it would just be to shake your hands out or to blow it out of your hands. And so again, Macbeth here, in saying out, out, brief candle, two words that the last time we saw them were connected to Lady Macbeth, who said, "Out, damned spot, out," and she was carrying a candle, suggests here Macbeth's desire for death, this desire that it just be done with, that he is voicing here in the first part of the soliloquy. In the second part of this soliloquy, then, Macbeth offers a number of metaphors for life. And the first is that life is a walking shadow. You can think of this, of course, if you think about a shadow, as something that's insubstantial. It's a paltry copy of the real thing. Spelling here. It's not the substance. It's not you. It's just a reflection, and a distorted and bad reflection. It's just something that follows along beside you. This next one is a extended metaphor here of a poor player. And player in this would be an actor or a entertainer, which again connects us to the first part of this when he talked about fools, which we said could be the jester or the clown. And so really what's happening here, and you can think about this from the perspective of the audience member who has come to see this play. Here's Macbeth talking about a poor actor that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. No doubt, sitting there in the audience, you would think about this as a play. And all of a sudden, maybe you'd been taken in by this actor's performance of Macbeth to suspend your disbelief and believe that Macbeth is a real person. And now you're very conscious of the actor, very conscious of the play. And you could think, well, why do we see plays or movies? And a huge reason why we see movies and plays is escapism. We want to get away from the reality of our lives. And you might think about somebody who has gone to see a movie with you, and they're troubled by the movie, and they say, hey, like, this thing, I want to talk about this, and you might respond, hey, man, it's just a movie. And Macbeth's idea here is, well, what if that is life? And all of the worry and all of the concern and all the anxiety that we put towards life, what if life is not worthy of that kind of consideration? What if life is just as elusive, just as imaginary as a play? A scary thought, and one that Macbeth, at this moment in his life, as he's gone through these various lapses in his mental state, is embracing. And so he concludes then with this very depressing view on life. He says, "It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, and signifying nothing." In Elizabethan terms, this word idiot was a lot stronger than the way that we use it today. And if we used it today in the way that an Elizabethan audience would have used it, we would be this is a very offensive word for what it's describing. And essentially what Macbeth is describing here is somebody with intellectual deficiencies. The image here is of somebody who is nonverbal, and all that they can communicate is sound and fury. And the idea here for the speaker, for Macbeth, is that we're faced with something that is so full of energy, it's so full of madness, it's so full of emotion and passion, and it has absolutely zero meaning. No meaning whatsoever.